You don't read the Bible much, Eric?
No.
Okay.
No, I do
That's
not. Good
that's
for
what
you.
Moses that's what Moses told the Israelites, that
Oh.
they were to gird their loins and fill their horn with oil and go.
All right, I never want to hear those words in that order again.
Something my mom says all the time. Anyway,
No. Well, let's
I just
let's
have
gird our
more and more
it
loins.
means like
questions. Let's move on.
you take your tunic and you cinch it up real nice and good so that you can run and walk across a desert.
You keep trying to explain this. I don't want any more explanation.
Yeah.
So let's gird our loins all the way to Chicago because I don't know
Yeah.
how else to transition over to that. Uh,
Why did you have to put it like that?
Ty, this also I think this is our first White Sox segment in I think 4 months, other than just introducing Ty. Hey, we've done it full circle. We're covering the biggest Dan said, the biggest market in the division. Good for us.
Mhm.
So, Ty, let's talk about the White Sox for a bit.
Let's talk about the White Sox, Eric. If you wouldn't mind bringing up OOTP, I'm going to try to give this my best. I hope any of the Sox fans that listen feel like I do us justice. Just a couple of things. I just want to level the playing field really quick. So keep in mind, this team went 41 to 121 and 24. Just the absolute worst case scenario. 2025, it went 60 and 102. So when we start to look at what this offseason looks like, we've already started to bring up a lot of our big prospects. So what we're looking at is our payroll in 2025 was 79 million, 28th in the league. This is going to be that's like a high number. We're not going to make it back to that number until 2026, 27, 28. We are not going to be signing any major free agents. Now, we did pick up Robert's extension, or the option on this year. Whether or not I agree with that is a whole other side conversation.
Yeah, let's actually can we talk can that be the
Let's
conversation
do
now?
it.
Because
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I think I agree with you. I think this experiment just needs to be done. I can see the logic behind it, but why?
I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Do you? Okay.
There is no, and okay, understand, and White Sox fans are probably going to disagree with me, but I get it. I'm an eternal optimist. Just putting that out there. You are not going to get the level of fielding from any free agent, from anyone in your farm system that you have here. Am I saying that his fielding ability is worth $20 million? No. Is the potential of him being good enough to be a regular center fielder of Gold Glove caliber, to give you a third of a good season, and I like just being honest, a third of a good season, he's shown you what your expectations of him should be. Now, if you look at those games played over the years, 2023, 145, 2024, 100, 2025, 110. If he can continue to give you the 100 mark, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We have kids, we have a bench, we can fill in that spot when he's not there. The goal is that, and I think I mentioned this on the pod last week, I mean, he had 8 injuries or something along those lines. You can't get injured running to first.
Right.
It's not realistic. I will say, I still think it's realistic that he's gone at the trade deadline. I don't think he'll be traded in the offseason, but I do believe that if he can continue to play that gold glove level center field and not get hurt, or not continue to hurt the same parts of his body that he continues to hurt, there's potential to go somewhere else.
I don't.
Or he's also just a mainstay on the team. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I get I can get the upside. To me, I think our logic might be a little bit different. It's not that I am absolutely against them picking up the option. I do see the logic in it. To me, you're not picking him up for what he is, it's what his potential can and should be. And what concerns me about him is, yes, the games play, whatever. I'm a Twins fan, Byron Buxton. I can't say anything about, like, availability is the best ability, right? Blah, 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 blah. His he's never been a patient hitter, but also, like, what concerns me is his power just fell off. And like his slugging percentage the last 2 years is at like 370. Like, where did that go? I understand it's $20 million. If he can find that power again, I get the logic. It's a lot for someone who is just, it's Kyle Isbell is kind of like his profile right now. And I don't mean that to hurt on, because I like Kyle Isbell. It's just Kyle Isbell's making the minimum. Luis Robert is making $20 million. I don't.
Now, the one thing, go down the H home run column.
Yep.
11, 13, 12, 38, 14, 14. He was never going to be a 30 home run hitter.
Sure. But even if you look at his actual
So-
slugging percentage, it was 560, 420, 540, and then it just like, why did it crater? I guess is what I would like, and also the White Sox would like to know this too. Like, and if they can find a coach that can turn him around, or if they can,
And I think that's it. I think that's 100% it. Finding the coach that's going to give him what he needs, to tell him the things that he needs in the way that he needs it. Once again, we've across baseball, at least across the Central, we all know that this is one of the scariest players on the team, at least until the kids come up. But now that he has other people around him, he had to be the guy. 23 and 24. He didn't fill that profile.
Yep.
So my theory is that as you continue to have better pieces around him, it takes less off of him mentally, so he can just go out and play.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I get the logic in holding on to him. Like, who else is the team going to be paying? What else? Why not? I mean, it's kind of just, I get the idea of, like, cut your losses and just move on, but, like, they're not going to be paying anybody else. They're not going to be signing any big free agents. They don't need to free up that space. He's not blocking anybody in the outfield right now.
That's a fair point.
It's, no reason not to. And if he becomes that, MVP caliber type of player that people thought he was going to be after 2023, then great. If he doesn't, then who cares? It's, it's not like you were going to pay someone else.
Yep.
I feel like this was always where this was going to land, given the fact that my recollection is Robert didn't have a very good first half last year, and that might be underselling it. Where, I think the everybody's thought was, oh, well, he'll get traded at the deadline in 2025, and he played so poorly that he didn't have the value to do that. So I think logically, as the White Sox, what you do in that case is, okay, we'll pick up the option, we'll run it back, and hopefully his trade value this year is more than it was last year, because it'd be very hard for it to be less at this point.
And he did pick it up.
That's a great point.
And though, in the event that doesn't come to fruition, well, then you're just back in the same place you were. Like, you didn't lose anything other than the $20 million you paid him.
With your payroll being so low.
Yeah. So, like,
it is
why
what it
not
is.
just bring him back, try it again? If not, then he's just a free agent, and you end up in the same spot you would have been just a year later.
And I want to emphasize on that point in the first half. He had a terrible first half. Now, when he came back in the second half, before he was injured in September, he was performing above that average level. It just, once again, can you get that for an entire season or a majority of a season? So that I think that's the big question with Robert, and ultimately, as I think what we all said, it is what it is. He's either going to go and outperform, or at worst, he's going to be hurt for half of the year, and he's going to be a Gold Glove outfielder when he's out there, and that's what he is for the Chicago White Sox. And I do believe for a playoff caliber team, if all you need to do, if he's your number 7, 8, 9 hitter,
Sure.
dude,
You have a good offense. Right.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at the for the first 6 months of the year. We'll see if he stays healthy, and if he does, I would not be surprised to see him somewhere else.
And he did pick it up offensively in the second half of the year. I mean, the whole White Sox team offensively was a lot better after the All-Star break. I mean, maybe it's a vibes, like the team as a whole is a little bit better, and he's able to pick it up a little bit if he has
The pressure is
some
off,
support
100%.
around him.
Yep. Anyone else have any other comments on Luis Robert Jr.?
Percent chance that he is a White Sox in 2026.
For at least one game, 100%.
Okay.
For a game in August.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with like a solid 30.
Okay.
I don't, because that's the thing. If he always has bad first halves, because he's trying to find himself, we'll see.
Here's a question for you. This is weird. I don't think this is going to happen in like a million years. But Dan, Cleveland needs a center fielder.
This crossed my mind too when Ty was talking about. I seem to be a little bit more concerned with trading within the division than most of you guys are.
I'm not a big fan of trading in division, for the record.
On its face, if we take that away, no. I'd rather Robert offensively hasn't been good long enough for me to feel comfortable with trading like Slade Ciccone or something for him.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, it's not enough of an established pedigree there.
Hey Dan, quick question.
Yeah.
Were the Guardians ever a high caliber team for offense?
Ever? Oh yeah, definitely. It's been quite a while, but at one point they were.
You gotta go back to Manny Ramirez and Jim Thome, but
I think he fits your profile more than he fits the Chicago White Sox.
I think there's some validity to that, in that, obviously, like you said, he's a great defensive outfielder. I mean, him and Quan in the same outfield, nothing's dropping, period.
100%.
I'm just too, I want more of a sure, I guess it's relative. Like, if there isn't more of a sure thing out there, then sure, I think we'd listen to it, but it wouldn't be my first choice. Let me put it that way. It wouldn't be my first choice.
And let me be clear, when we talk about trading Robert, he's going to a team that they know they're going to make the playoffs, that they know that whoever is in center field at that time is either a higher risk than he is or is a worse fielder.
He would check a lot of boxes. They need a right-handed hitter. They need a center fielder. I get it. The personality kind of concerns me as well. I think maybe that could fit in the clubhouse here, where they seem to care a lot about chemistry, but it also might be a reason they choose not to pursue him.
I mean, you have the two-time manager, the back-to-back manager of the year, and Austin Hedges working his magic.
And to that point, we had two guys on the team that were purposely trying to not do their best. So maybe I'm, calling the kettle black here, but I don't know.
And I just want to say, and I hate this for us as Sox fans, but going back to Andrew Vaughn, we're going to talk about first base in a little bit. He went to another organization. There were parts of the second half where he did revert back to what he was doing on the Sox, but in general, I want to say he ended up with 290, 300 average. Like, he did better in the second half with Milwaukee than he had ever done in a over that same span of games with the Sox. I would say Robert, given the caliber, the ceiling that he's reached here, if you send him to Tampa Bay, if you send him to Cleveland, a team that is really good with player development or showing the players what they're really good at and what to focus on, I can't say that he wouldn't be worth $20 million. I really can't.
Vaughn had 1.8
You know what?
WAR in 64 games for the Brewers. 141 OPS plus.
Jeez.
So
That hurts.
In a way, you guys are selling me on the premise of him coming to Cleveland. And another Ty just brought up another thing that goes against it, and that I have a hard time believing they'd spend $20 million. They're paying
See, that's what I was
Jose
thinking.
Ramirez.
you only be
Jose
paying half.
Ramirez
Keep that in mind.
$21 million right now.
Keep that in mind. Half, $10 million. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, Eric, do you want to go back to the pays for the next year? So Andrew Benintendi, our next big look.
Biggest contract in White Sox history.
75 mil. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
He has definitely started to do better over the course of the last year or two than he was at the beginning of his contract. Now, is he going to be here for the entirety of 26? I would say it's also a 30% chance he's not. If he can perform at a level, I think he's far enough in his contract that if he can perform up to the level that we know that he can, once again. Hey Dan, do you want a second outfield?
No.
I get it.
I can answer this one directly. Do not want a worse Stephen Kwan. Thank you.
I got to try.
It's all right.
So with Benintendi, we have a young clubhouse. At the end of the day, even if he's just around to be the quote unquote Paul Konerko type, where he's quiet, but he's coaching the kids, he's showing them the right quote unquote right way. It is what it is. He's probably on the team till the end of his contract, and that's what it is. But I don't expect the world from him. I mean, he's 31, age 31 season. Is he going to be worth $17 million? No. Is he going to show up every day? Is he going to be a good clubhouse presence? I think so. So not a whole lot else there for me on Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're wrong with Benintendi. I like it. It hasn't been the contract the White Sox wanted. I also think when they signed it, the rest of the league was like, that seems like a lot for Andrew Benintendi. But like the same point that we just made for Robert, who's it hurting? Like who? Andrew got his money, good for him. Like it's not like
I mean, it's hurting Andrew mentally probably, but
those checks still cash though. Like I can pay to suck for 17 million a year. And like I'm sure he's a good clubhouse guy and all that good stuff too. It hasn't worked out as they would have liked, but he's not a waste.
You don't usually say good clubhouse guy about someone who's producing outside of the clubhouse,
What was funny is I had my mic muted, but like when Ty, you made me laugh when you said Andrew Benintendi and then you said look. And then there's never a good summary is coming after you say, hey, look, I know it's bad, but give me a minute here. So it just made me laugh. But
so any other questions about Andrew? I think we're good here.
I think that could be said about the White Sox. You could say, look, the White Sox.
Now hold on.
All
right. I'm just saying, the story gets better over the course of this White Sox, off-season look. So hang in there with me. All right. So we talked about Benintendi. We talked about Robert Talkman. I really, really hope we pick up. We give him the money he deserves, whatever it needs to get him on the team next year to make him feel like he's part of this roster. When he was leading off this year, I felt like things were happening. I mean, he had 10, 11 pitch at bats, which if you're not a White Sox fan, we don't typically do that. We normally swing and miss at the first 3 pitches.
the first 3.
I'm just saying, a la Robert. Mike Talkman to me, and I was a little hesitant because like he came over, he was on the Cubs and like you heard about him, then he came over to the White Sox, and once again, just 1.7 WAR you can see there. He's not taking away from anything. I think he deserves a higher salary than the $2 million he got paid in 25. Obviously there was the injury. He is 34 going into 35 season. I really enjoyed having somebody like him around, someone like him at the top of the lineup, at least for another year while our kids continue to develop. I really hope. Worst case scenario, He's a candidate to be traded at the deadline, but we'll see how that turns out.
I do like how he's personality, run-of-the-mill ball player. That's code for he's a boring person and doesn't have any other traits. It's a little sad.
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that in the clubhouse.
Well, also let's not pretend that OTP is in the clubhouse either. So like, it's funny. Like I look at the personality too, but
I just like seeing the descriptors that they'll put there. And like, all right, I don't know if that's a compliment.
I mean, giving Mike Tauchman $5 million, I think is like just check the box. Go ahead and just do that. Like,
yep,
why not?
I feel like anything under $5 million for a team is like that's like nothing. It's like whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Especially in Chicago, which I think is going to be a running theme for this entire time.
Agree. So that's our outfield. I don't even need to go into our outfield for next year. I will say we'll come back to it in the wish list. But ultimately, Benintendi, Robert, Tauchman. If they're all healthy, no reason why that's not your opening day outfield. Any questions on our outfield?
No, I mean I'm a little worried I'm a little worried on the ceiling of it, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Like I would probably spend some money on it, but
and what I'd like to rebuttal that with, this is not going to be a team that's going to win the World Series. What it is going to be is a team of kids and aging adults that are going to try to make the best of the situation. I'm going to say this now because I'll be talking about it the rest of the offseason. If they are the Cincinnati Reds of last year, that's a goal.
Yeah.
And I think with that outfield, it's possible.
I mean, yeah, I think putting it out there. The infield to me is like that's where like the talent is really starting to show. So to me, if I'm yeah, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the payroll. The payroll is not high, shockingly, with this team. If you want to just like, at some point, Chicago's going to start spending. And when they do, it just like, who are they going to get? Like, I think that's just, at what year? Is it this offseason they start spending, or is it next offseason? I think is really what the debate is. But
yeah, so if you want to go back to that screen with all the salaries. So we talked about outfield, our top three guys. Does anyone else see a salary value over 760? Oh, I'm sorry, over 1.2 million
arbitration
for 2026?
That's a lot of league minimum.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So, I mean, the story is we have a bunch of kids or Rule 5s or whatever it may be. We are getting steals on some of these players. We are paying other players more than they should be making because ultimately they wouldn't be on 29 other teams, is what it is. Oh. As of right now, the expectation from GM Chris Getz is we are not going to make any big splashes.
Ugh, that hurts.
But we'll talk later during the pitching segment about what might occur. So salaries, it's going to be below 50. I below 60 even. I don't see it getting anywhere near what it was last year. Any comments about our payroll?
Not really. It does hurt me when the GM just says we're not going to spend big. Like why not? Like, why not? You're in Chicago. You're making plenty of money, but that's my own personal gripe. Not Chris Getz is not making that decision.
Yeah. So if we want to look at what the fielding looks like, we're going to talk a little bit more about our infield. So we already talked left, center, right. At third base, it's going to realistically be Colson Montgomery. Everyone in the Central knows, everyone in hopefully baseball knows that Colson Montgomery, as long as he can produce anywhere near to what he did back half of last year, he's here to stay. At least I'm sorry. Colson is at shortstop. I don't know why I did that. Vargas is at third base. Sorry about that. Miguel Vargas at third base. Let's talk about him. So he came over from the Dodgers. He's going to, from what everyone can see, he continues to produce better and better levels as he continues to grow towards his potential or his ceiling. Do I think there's any reason that he wouldn't be on the team this year? He could be part of a trade package with Robert, but I don't see the point of it.
Was he part of the
either he's
trade? Was it one of them?
I believe so. Yes. So at this point, that's still to be seen whether or not we got the better player. But he produced consistency last year. He was good in the lineup. As you can see, 138 games, OPS plus 99, that being his second best season. I think he is also going to be someone that the better that the team around him gets, the better he's going to become. So that I think that's our third base situation. You also have our secondary in Curtis Mead, who came over from Tampa, I believe. So we'll see what that looks like for the year. Any questions on Vargas or Mead?
I don't know who Mead is, so
Neither do we.
okay.
It's okay.
I was about to say that maybe not like
your Tampa Bay infielder type.
Got it.
That's all I got.
I have one piece of commentary on Vargas, and that's that things you want to see. His OPS plus in the second half was 120. So progression throughout the course of the year. My recollection was that he hit a lot better in the second half, and the numbers back that up.
100% agree. And I, not to go macroeconomic too quick, but when you look at the second half, that's what we're hoping, that at least when we talk about offense and fielding, the second half is who we hope the White Sox are within 10% for the entirety of 26. Does that mean we're going to win 85 games? Probably not, but it at least helps us understand where we're at going forward. I think that's the goal. All right, moving to shortstop, Colson Montgomery. As long as he does not get hurt, as long as he continues to produce anywhere near what he does in the back half of 25, there is no reason why he's not your shortstop for the next 6-7 years. Hopefully they'll sign him to an extension. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high. 129 OPS in 2025 at the major league level. Once again, one of the best stories to come for the Sox fans in a very long time, when we're so used to prospects that come up and ultimately just cannot figure it out. You got that 2.2 WAR. I believe he was our team leader in in WAR. So we're really just hoping to see the same from him in 26. There might be a little bit of regression as pitchers start to adjust against him.
Do you know, was he? This is kind of the same question I had for Sam about Michael Garcia. I was more familiar with Colson Montgomery, but do you remember what was his prospect status? Was he like a top 50 global prospect? Like, what did he come out of nowhere? Is he a development miracle? What is he?
He was in our mind. The ceiling was high, but it took him a while to get to where he needed to be. I mean, you look at the levels over the years, starting in 2021, going from rookie to A, like he either had it or he didn't. It wasn't being able to produce those consistent results, whether it's because of injuries, whatever happened down there. He was rated as a top prospect at one point. I think he has the biggest value, or after we sent him to Arizona to go through that, to get his swing back, that's where you started to see this is the Colson Montgomery that everyone saw when we were going to replace Anderson. And that was I believe that was the plan all along. And he didn't go fast enough to meet as Anderson, got punched in the face. But you know what I mean? It just didn't work out. And now he's here and hopefully here to stay.
I think you're going to talk about him next, but is Sosa the second baseman? He's not who I want to talk about, but
we're going to slot in Mydroff into that second base spot.
That's who I wanted to talk about. So go ahead and talk about him.
You talk about a kid who just comes out and plays hard every day. I've heard it on every White Sox podcast that I listen to. He's just what White Sox fans want. I may not be the best second baseman out there, but I'm going to come out every night and try to prove that I am. He had an 83 OPS in his first 122 games in 2025. He's a good fielder. He's decent at the plate. He had a 1.2 WAR. I think that my hope is that he does not regress terribly over this next season. He gets on base. He fits that profile of the future. We are not going to be just home runs. We have that Kansas City development background with all of our coaches and players that have been there before. But I just the grind, the daily day to day. I'm going to come out here and try to beat you. We love him for it.
Back when we didn't have a Chicago, a month ago, when the White Sox were playing better in the second half, I think like Dan and I would consider like Chase Meadroff. I don't think he's very flashy, but he's just like he's a gnat. You can't swat him away. He's not going to strike out. He's that grinder, like max effort baseball player that seems like he would be a good utility guy. And if things really work out with, he can be a decent starter for a couple of years. But I really liked Chase Meadroff probably more than his potential will end up being, if that makes sense. I was impressed with him. I liked how he played.
I'm going to give you this. So with the few White Sox podcasts that I listen to, I've heard a comp to Dustin Pedroia on the ceiling side.
Oh dear. Okay.
I'm going to let him cook, if you will. On the not so ceiling side, a Mike Ellis, those types of like a super utility guy.
Right.
And worst case scenario, he is who he is last year.
There were two names that I thought of, not to cut you off, but Gordon Beckham, who I think is beloved in Chicago. No, don't like that. Not. Okay, well, and then he played for the White Sox, but barely. Eduardo Escobar. He seemed like that type of. If he would have Eduardo Escobar's career, I feel like that would be a success. But I don't know.
And I will say, when you use that Gordon Beckham comp, the worst thing about it is that how quickly he fell off. I'm really hoping that someone like Meadroff, with the drive that he has, the passion he brings to the game, that he will, even if he's a little worse than league average, he can maintain that 85 to 90 for multiple years, where it's like it's still worth to pay you and have you on this team to be a mainstay. I hate to say it, Larry Garcia, who we had for a decade. But once again, just good clubhouse presence. I'm going to try to win every night. And I love Chase as our second baseman for 2026.
Give me a 90 OPS every year, play three positions well, and keep the harmony going in the clubhouse, and you'll be happy.
And the other thing I wanted to mention. That's the other thing.
Go ahead. That I think Eric and I's reaction that he was alluding to before is my recollection is, and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like Meadroff was the first of these guys that came up this year. And so it was the first impression of like, oh, okay, they've got some guys coming now. And so it was him, and then it was probably Vargas after that, and he had a better second half, like I was saying. And then Montgomery comes up, and we're like, oh, okay. And then, the Twins backslide, and we're like, oh, well, Chicago's probably trending in the right direction now compared to at least one other team in the division.
We're just glad that other people can see it. So I will say Vargas has been here for at least a year or two from that Kopech trade from the Dodgers. He hadn't found himself. I mean, this is where he really started to I'm the third baseman or first baseman of the Sox. I think he was a little angry with going from the top organization to one of the worst. But I 100% agree. So Chase was the first of this prospect capital coming up, kind of seeing what it was like. I think he was a great transition personnel, so that as Kyle Teal came up, as Montgomery came up, like they had someone to kind of like, well, what's it been like, So having that around has been great.
Mydroth is one of those guys that when he came up and started playing pretty decent, a bunch of the people I follow on Twitter were like, "Oh, he's gonna be one of those obnoxious Tiger killers, isn't he? He's just gonna be one of those guys." A lot of Tiger fans I follow, like, "Oh, he's gonna be annoying, isn't he?"
That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
All right, so
I do
moving
feel-
to oh, sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. We've talked about Chase Meadroth probably more than his family talks about Chase
All
Meadroth.
good. All good. All right, so first base. This was a problem this year. We had Andrew Vaughn. We had the failed Tim Elko project, which I don't know if any of you knew. He had at one point I looked, he had a triple A OPS of 1,300. Tim Elko came up, couldn't figure it out. We also had Ryan Noda from the Angels, who they DFA'd, I believe. All three just didn't work out. So at the end of the year, you had a split of, from what I can remember, Lenin Sosa and Miguel Vargas. This is one of our, in my opinion, best opportunities to get better. We'll talk about it more during the wish list. I don't hate Lenin Sosa being at first base. I don't hate Vargas being at first base. I just don't think that this is the long term. I don't think Lenin Sosa is our first baseman of the future. I think he's filling a spot until his arbitration is over, or he might be a trade candidate, honestly. If you package him and Robert, him and Benintendi, I mean, you can see he had 100 OPS plus last year. He's not bad. First baseman is not the position I have him in.
Yep. I mean, he's 25. I feel like I kind of feel the same way as Detroit having Colt Keith as their first baseman. He can do it, but there are better fits at first base.
100% agree. And until we figure it out, I think we do leave him there. Maybe he surprises everybody and he stays our first baseman for the next couple of years. But I just don't see it happening. I think Vargas being our longer term first baseman would be more realistic. With that, brings us to catcher. Kyle Teal. I said it before, I'll say it again. Going from seeing who he was game one, just so anxious, to here I am, I'm our major league catcher. I hit 120 OPS this year, produced a 2.0 WAR. Like, I can't say much. He speaks for himself. I really hope that he goes out there and he's someone that each of you are scared of next year. And I think that's realistic. I 100% believe that's a realistic expectation. He's going to get on base a lot, and I'm just really excited to see him play more.
I mean, I think he was one of the first, because we heard about Kyle Teal because he was part of the Garrett Crochet trade with Boston.
Correct.
He was one of the, oh crap, it was like the same feeling we felt with Aloy and Robert and Anderson. That didn't pan out the last generation of these, but I was like, oh crap. Well, now the White Sox might be a problem again.
So the thing is about Teal is that he makes for a great catcher, but if you go back to the previous page, we have two other catchers that finished on our roster last year in Edgar Caro and Corey Lee. Now, Edgar Caro's been in the news a little bit lately that he might be someone that is shopped around. This is the first time in my lifetime that I remember that we've had a backup at catcher, or that we had multiple catchers that could start every single day. I genuinely believe that trading Edgar Caro is not the right decision for this year. I think we should let him and Teal just continue to switch back and forth.
Right.
I mean, they're young. Let them both play. If they're not playing at catcher, they're playing at DH. And it is what it is.
Well,
They
why
both
not
hit
even
very
first
well.
base?
Well,
Like that's
Eric,
not a
let
huge
me get to that. I want to mention something here. I was looking at this, and I'm not trying to bury anybody at 22. That's how old Carroll is, I believe. He was at negative 13 framing runs last year at the major league level.
Mhm.
Could he potentially be a first baseman given just that?
Do framing runs matter as much when we have an ABS?
I mean,
system?
ABS isn't going to be
Maybe,
used on
maybe not.
every pitch, though. It's
Yes.
only going to be like what 3 challenges, and it's only you only challenge on the last pitch of the at bat, right? Like it's not gonna, it's gonna matter. It's gonna change it some, but it's not gonna change it that much. I don't think.
To that point, his other catching metrics aren't as bad. He does allow some guys to steal, but everything else is good. Blocks are good. Pop time is good. So
And
it's a
keep
good
in
question.
mind, this is with a rotation that was either Rule 5 picks, kids, or rehabbing. Like if he was catching a major league roster of pitchers, would that have been different? That's
Could
my
be.
question for you.
I mean,
Now,
my instant reaction with him, like, I would like him to see he needs to hit better if they're going to toy with him at first base. He had a 93 OPS plus.
I,
Like, I would
I'm
almost
just thinking of it of. I'm not even saying that's where he's destined to be, but if we want to get all these dudes at bats, that's more where I'm coming from.
right. Well, that's
yeah.
fair.
So I honestly believe that for this next year, we keep both Teal and Caro in the majors and just let them fight for it, lack for a better term. I think what will ultimately happen is Caro's going to go catch on another team or be a backup catcher on another team. A la Perez, but not really. Or what's happening in Kansas City right now. But Teal, as of right now, I can't see him not being our first baseman. And Caro, when you talk about him going to first, I think when we talk about free agency over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, first baseman, that's been like the White Sox's number one position for 25, 30 years.
Right.
The fact that and we'll talk about it from the wish list, but it's not Edgar Caro. It's not Edgar Caro. And then we do have Corey Lee as well. Ultimately, I think he'll be a great backup catcher, or we can trade him. He can go be like a defensive catcher first on another team. That's fine as well. But we need to keep Teal. We need to develop him, and he's going to be great. Last but not least, we have DH. I already talked to you. We have several options in each position. Whoever's not playing their position is playing DH. That is what it is.
Right.
So that's basically what our lineup and what our fielding looks like next year. I will say I don't know exactly what the bench is going to look like. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. But I think 2026 is just 2025 second half continued. What does it look like when we have these players together for 162 games?
Is there anyone you'd like to see the White Sox bring in as far as any of the free agents? Because I would imagine they'll probably do some amount of looking around, but is there any name that you think would be a candidate to be on the White Sox?
So I'll stay with the offense. My wish list for offense: first baseman Pete Alonso.
Sure.
He fits our profile of what we want in a first baseman. I believe he fits our window. I know that we won't pay for him, but as a fan, as a best case scenario, Pete Alonso would be my first baseman in 2026. Obviously, not going to happen, but you can dream. With that being said, the only other major offensive positions that we need would be outfield. And when you look at the free agents in the outfield, there's no one that, to me, like that screams pick me up enough for where we are right now I mean, sure, when we talk about DH Schwarber, like you'd want him, but when you talk about outfielders that are destined to make a lot of money this year, this offseason, Kyle Tucker. I don't want Kyle Tucker. I'll be honest. He's another injury-prone player that I don't see him living up to the amount of money they're going to pay him. You look at Cody Bellinger. I don't think he fits our profile as well. I don't think that that's necessary. Well, the best case scenario for outfield would be trading. And as of right now, I can't even think of a really good comp of like, what do we need right now? Because I think in the outfield, we still need to figure out who our outfield of the future is. And then we need to get a free agent around that.
Now, I mentioned him for the Royals, but I do think Willie Castro might be just a 1-year thing, utility guy, good defense. He's not going to hit a whole lot, but, if you're using him just to kind of plug any holes that might come up defensively, I mean, why not?
I 100% agree. 100% agree. So with that, once again, first baseman wish list is Pete Alonso. Outfield, it is what it is. Obviously, like I said, DH, we'd love a Kyle Schwarber, but we do have several options there. And that kind of wraps up my offensive breakdown. Any other comments about offense?
I don't think so.
Pitching. So this is great. The reason why this is great is because when we look at our starting rotation of 2025, you had a bunch of, is this going to work? We also, I don't know if any of you would have heard, we had anywhere from 10 to 12 pitchers that could have potentially been on our major league roster that had all had Tommy John, some kind of injury going into 25. When we look at the rotation, Shane Smith is still going to be there. Davis Martin's still going to be here. When we look at the other starting rotation, we had Davis Martin. Realistically, he should still be around. Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon. There's no reason for any of these pitchers to not be up unless they fill in their spots. When we talk about starting pitchers, the hope, the wish list for starting pitchers would be bringing back our Dylan Cease from San Diego. He didn't have a great year last year, which would actually help us in terms of keeping the contract team friendly. But it would be so cool to have him back home. I don't believe it's going to happen based on how much he's going to be asking for, or what his agent's going to be asking for. But it would be really cool to see Cease back with us. When we talk about realistic, I have Quintana coming back for a reunion. This is just a year of reunions for me. Jose Quintana, once again, is he going to be who he's been for the last 3-4 years? Probably not. Is that what we need? Not really. We need someone to take some innings. And then realistically, we do have Martin Perez back on a more team-friendly deal. He seemed to really enjoy being here with a younger core. So I think he's almost a guaranteed.
Any
so that
thoughts
would be
on,
our
Grant Taylor or anything like that?
With him, it sounds like everything is going to stay in the bullpen. It doesn't sound like if they do stretch him out during the year, that'll be a case by case, a month by month basis decision. But at least in terms of our rotation, you're adding one starting pitcher in, and we're going to run this again next year, I believe.
Yeah.
When we talk about our bullpen, this is where it gets fun. So I've got the baseball reference page for relief pitching up here. So I believe Lee or someone mentioned to Sam about the Royals losing in 1 to 2 run games. Chicago White Sox in 2025 led the league, or were the worst in the league, in losses in relief. 48 games.
That tracks.
48 games we lost in relief.
I believe
Thankfully,
that narrative 100%.
management does understand that. So when we look at what is the most realistic offseason additions, it's going to be in the bullpen. Are they going to be like the best people out there? Probably not. The last 2 to 3 years, you've seen the White Sox doing this. Pull those guys that are on the prove it years or that need the prove it years, and trade them at the deadline. Via looking at Hauser last year who went to Tampa Bay. We're going to see more of that for at least another year or two before we get any really high caliber bullpen players. But I know for a fact that White Sox management understands that we need to get better in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. With that, the number one thing in the offseason should be a closer. I was looking through the closer, anyone relief pitching closer available. I can't even pull a name. I think they would have to trade for somebody. Or looking back at the Angels closer for this year, I can't think of his name right at this second.
Kenley Jansen.
Kenley
Absolutely.
Jansen would be
I was
another.
going to ask you a year of him. He's a vet. I think he could help in the clubhouse. That would be
Yes.
one guy I'd suggest.
Oh wow! I'm looking at the current relief pitchers on the free agent market, and you are correct, Ty. This is a pretty pathetic bunch here.
The free agent market in general this offseason isn't the highest.
No, it isn't.
But that's also with players that are taking their options to go back into the team that they currently stand on, based on the impending lockout for 27. So I think when you look at what the White Sox are doing, what management wants to do with the Sox, we're going to run it back for the most part for this upcoming year. Now, a couple more things I just want to point out. When we talk about the statistics from last year, we ultimately ended in anywhere between 20 and 30 in most categories. Before they're going to spend any money in the offseason, they're going to want to see that up towards the 15 mark that the Tigers are in. You can't be league worse in every category and put money into a team. It just doesn't make sense, or at least not based on our current ownership. When we look at 2026, 2027 beyond, we do have the impending ownership change with the Ishbia. So we'll definitely see what 27 brings. But once again, I think when you look at this season coming up, you're looking at what do we have right now? What do you have in the minors? Which, for those of you who don't know, the White Sox AA team did win their league this year. So we do have a good AA club. When we talk about farm systems, we were 3rd at the beginning of the year. We're now at 16th going into the offseason per Bleacher Report. So obviously, like, a lot of those guys came up. It makes sense. So just looking at more of those prove it deals, I pulled a list off of Sport Track. And just really quick before we end the segment here, when you look at the previous AAV minus the market value, so how much they were making compared to how much they will cost. Jordan Montgomery is at the top of that list with a $22 million difference.
Yep.
When you look at him, when you look at Miles Mikolas with a $12 million difference, John Gray with an $8 million difference. These are the types of people that I see the White Sox going to try to have conversations with this offseason to see if they can go and capture some of that previous excellence, if you will. Now, it's going to be on the older side, and it is what it is, but I think there's definitely potential there.
Yeah. If you had to pick, if they had, you say they're not going to, but where should they invest more? Is it the bullpen or is it more offense?
Offense, let the kids play. Let the kids play.
Okay.
Pitching, more specifically our bullpen, that's where we would need money. That's where we need the money. If I was just gonna do one big signing, I will say that Alonso right now at first would be the big signing. We can go get pitchers to fill in because we still have a lot of high-level prospects that are pitchers that we need to see how they're going to pan out. We have Noah Schultz. We have Hagen Smith that we expect to see in 2026. So it's just what does that turn out to be? Figure out what our current pitching situation looks like, and then invest in 27 versus throwing 10, 20, 30 million dollars at a player you don't know if it's going to work out now. That was my approach.
I think this is a really interesting roster in the sense that you look at the infield. And when I say infield, I mean literally the infield, including the center of the infield. And it's all young dudes. It's all guys with a lot of potential across the infield and on the starting rotation. Then you kind of look out to the outfield, and relatively speaking, it's a bit of an old folks home. That's an exaggeration, but you got vets out there. And then you got a bullpen that it needs to get better. It's not young, it's not old, it's just not very good. But you're at a point in your development here as a team where the bullpen's probably not the biggest issue. It's probably not the thing we're most concerned with. Why bother paying $30 million for a closer when you're going to win 65 games, 70 games, maybe higher? But my point being, closer's only going to give you so much value at this point. I just think I was just kind of perusing the White Sox top prospects. Their top prospect is an outfielder, Braden Montgomery. His ETA is until 2027, though. I'm sure that I see you smirking. I think you're probably pretty excited about him. But, to me, it seems like get a veteran starting pitcher. I think Quintana is a really interesting idea. Or somebody like Michaelis, like you were saying, just somebody that can show these guys how to be a major league pitcher and also kind of not embarrass himself out there. Somebody that'll be decent. Beyond that, I know Eric won't like this, but I wouldn't worry about spending a bunch of money on anybody. Let these guys go play, learn, make mistakes, hopefully get play better as the season goes on. Why block anybody and take at bats away from anybody when you just want to learn what these guys are? So I think it's really interesting.
Let them figure out who they are before we start adding to it or replacing or kind of stuff like that.
100% agree. 100% agree. It'll be interesting to see. And I think and I kind of alluded to this when I did my intro 2 weeks ago, but when you look at the White Sox, you see a light at the end of the tunnel. We had our great season in 2020, everything started to fall off. All of our top rated prospects, all of the trades that we did, everything fell apart. And now we're finally starting to see that things are going to change. So hopefully, once again, let the kids play. I know that that's what they're going to do. We're just hoping that they continue to grow together. I do want to point out, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this. I was blown away to hear that I want to say at least 5 of our pitchers are on a ranch somewhere in Texas right now, all spending their offseason together, which I love. And then we have at least 3 or 4 of our hitters doing the same thing, I want to say, in South Carolina. So, like, this team is, they kids want to play together. The atmosphere is so much different than what it has been. So,
yeah, I mean, the Twins will do that. Like it's player led. I know Carlos Correa would invite young players or just players in general to his house, and they would train. So it's all. I will say it's good hearing that from the White Sox rather than the previous generation of veterans that they had, because it didn't seem like that was exactly the case. So at least somebody is learning something.
What would you consider a successful season for the 2026 White Sox, Ty?
I heard another podcaster saying somewhere in the 70 win range. I want to believe that, but if we get 69 wins, I'm happy.
Which is,
I mean, that's a good number of wins to have.
It's a 9-game improvement. There's rarely teams that are better than a 9-game improvement from the year before. Ask the Twins, who went, I think, negative, whatever. They didn't do well, is the point. But I don't think this is the year for the White Sox, and I think you're in agreement with it. But next year, especially as Justin Ishbia looms with his, even for billionaires money, with FU money that he can just buy whoever the hell he wants. That's exciting. And they
Just in
might
time for a salary cap.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. But
Maybe.
I'm going to guess whatever gets in with that salary cap, they're going to be allowed to go over it X%. I think there's going to be a morphing, but we'll see. We'll find that out, that answer, maybe next winter or whenever the lockout ends, if it ends. Who knows? Maybe this is the last year of baseball. Who knows? They might kill it.
I do have one more comment
Yes.
on the White Sox. You guys are going to hate me for this. Against AL Central teams, Cleveland 2-11, Detroit 5-8, Kansas City Royals 3-10, Minnesota 8-5.
Yep.
No matter what their standing, their record is on the season, if they can finish 500 or above against AL Central, I'm happy.
Or even just putting up a fight, because outside of the Twins, like 2-11 against a team, that's not great. Like,
Cleveland has always had our number. You go back to Josh Naylor. We have no
you
answer.
hate those brothers too? Do you hate
No
them
answer.
also?
Yeah, join us in the
Goddamn
Naylor
Naylor.
brothers hate.
It was the White Sox fans that set him off that one time. They were yelling at
That
him,
was
calling
so
him
funny.
names.
That was so funny.
It was amazing.
But like I said, we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that'll do us for the White Sox, and that probably is going to bring it to an end for the week. Unless anybody has any last minute thoughts, any dreams for the White Sox, or just anyone in general, I think we can probably put a bow on this one.
We'll see you soon, Pete Alonso.
They have the money to do it. Certainly being in Chicago. So with that, we'll leave that with a cliffhanger. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week, everyone.